Welcome to the Campbells.
It's All Good Podcast.
Welcome to the Campbells. It's All Good Podcast, where our focus is God, healthy marriage, joy, and life. Join us every episode as we share various aspects of healthy relationship goals that we have set for ourselves, provide practical tips for creating the healthy marriage we desire, and how we live life together in God ordained joy. Jesus, others, yourself.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So, this is kind of a continuation. We had quite a few people to kind of reach out to us and to discuss a little bit about our story and our love and how we got to where we are. So, this kind of a continuation of episode 6, which was
Our love story to becoming one.
Yeah, there it is. So that's how we're going to kind of build a little bit more on this. And again, episode 9 here, 1 plus 1 equals 2.
Yes, so I wanted to start out with a quote that I had read, and it says, "It is our willingness to listen to each other and learn from each other and to seek the truth rather than seek to be right." And that author is unknown. But as we unpack this episode today, we are going to talk more about that and just focusing on how that 1 plus 1 equals 2. So, we still are one because of the fact that we are a married couple. We're under covenant with the Lord, but we are also two individuals as well too. That doesn't take away from our individuality, coming together as one. But we are definitely going to focus on how it's just so important to continue to learn one another, to be intentional in our actions, how we go about just everything that we do as a couple.
And that is definitely so true. So, although this episode is not focused on communication, but as you start to learn someone and as we start to continue to learn each other, when we're having conversations, when we're even laughing or whatever, I'm sure everyone has heard the term, do you listen to respond or do you listen to understand?
Yeah.
And so that is a big difference. If you're just listening and waiting for her to stop saying something so that I can make my point and go in, then you've already missed the mark. I've got to listen to understand and see things from her side. So that kind of goes into the never stop learning each other. And again, I just want to remind everyone real quick, when we talk about these subjects, this is not a reflection of what we live with every day.
Mm-hmm.
This is just what life has taught us. And, many of us, whether it be in relationships, whether it be in our workplace, whether it be amongst friends, or whatever the case may be, I think you'll probably find something here that you can apply to various parts of your life.
Yeah,
So
definitely
please
a
don't
takeaway.
take this as Brian and Lania must be A, B, and C. No, no, no. That is not the case. We are rock solid here. But you just have to understand, we're just trying to talk about some everyday common things geared towards kind of relationships.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because I did have a listener reach out to me and just tell me how they and their spouse, this listening to us has caused them to just engage in conversations. So not even conversations that they may have not had or conversations that they had already had, but it just gets you talking more. And that's what we want to see amongst couples. It's just great communication, like Brian said, not listening just to reply back, but truly listening and then being able to give a reply because you've heard what your partner has said. And so that was just such a great moment to have that conversation with the listener, to know that just by listening to us, that them as individuals were coming together to have a good, solid conversation about whatever topic that they were talking about, or it could have been about the topic that we were talking about in that specific episode that just sparked their conversations as well. And that is just great feedback for us because that lets us know that our goal is being met, that we want to see couples communicating, couples having fun, couples being friends, even when life is tough, that the teamwork is still there.
So, you know, one of the things that I'm just listening to Lania and I was kind of thinking about is, you know, again, trying to understand her. Validating what she says is not for me to say, well, you shouldn't feel that way. It's validating that, okay, I hear what you're saying, and then we have a conversation. When we first met and when we first, you know, got seriously in a relationship, it she brought out the talking in me. I mean, I got the gift of gab with the best of them, but she wanted to have a conversation about this or about that. So now it's at the point now where it's just a natural flow of
Yeah,
the day.
second nature.
Because in the beginning I was struggling with, you know, well, why does she care about this, you know? But over time I've learned that, you know, it's important to her to understand how my day went and how things are going for me, and to check in with me as a person. And now we do that for each other, and it's a
Yes.
constant check in to make sure that the other person's going okay, or if there's something going on that you just need to talk about. And it is a no judgment zone, so it is
Yeah.
a tell me what's on your mind, and together we will figure it out regardless of what the situation is. And that just speaks volume to where we are.
Yeah, that's so good, Brian, because it makes me think that when we do not intentionally have that communication, and this is just my opinion, that it becomes like the song, like you become a stranger in your own house. Because how do you get to know your partner? How do you get to know your spouse if there's not avid communication going on, where it's really listening to the other person, gaining insight about just whatever might be going on in their life personally, and then whatever is going on in our lives collectively. And so I think that just from books that I've read, movies I've seen, things like that, when that communication is not flowing back and forth, couples become strangers in their own houses. And I know that sounds so like out of this world, but it can happen. I mean, we've seen it when we watched these talk shows where people have gotten, on the brink of divorce or gotten divorced, and that was a lot of the reason why, is that the communication stopped.
I recently read something on social media where it was a man who came home from work and literally was sitting outside in the driveway in his car, did not want to go in the house. And his wife came
Wow.
out and was asking him, "Hey, what's going on?" And he was just like, he needed peace. And she was like, "Well, come inside." And he basically said, "That's not where my peace is." And I thought, whoa, that is just like insane. But I mean, I've seen that, I've heard that, and just to kind of, you know, to see that and read it, it was just interesting to read. So it made me think about, you know, where did they stop learning each other at?
Hmm.
Where did they stop being intentional about their actions or their relationship with each other? You know, possibly was it an intimacy thing? And intimacy is not probably what you're thinking. You know, intimacy, into me see, understand who I am, understand my mind and who I am as a person. You know, that is true
Yeah, so
intimacy,
good, so
that
good.
to understand into me see.
Yeah, and I know for me, I want to see you. Like, I want to know who Brian is to the core. And that is the beautiful thing about a healthy marriage, is because you can take those layers off and you're peeling it until you get to that core, that middle. Because now you're in a place, and I know we've talked about this in previous episodes, where you should be able to be vulnerable with your partner. And so that vulnerability opens up so many things. And like you said, that intimacy, that you're truly seeing the person for who they are. And then that way there's a connection there. So you're connecting. It makes me think of like when a child is playing with Legos. I mean, they're going to keep connecting those different pieces, the different colors that go together, so that they are building up and up and up. And that's what I think about in our relationship.
And you know, one of the things that I was thinking about as she was talking was, I have notes. I've got quite a few notes on my phone. So as we were getting to know each other, and then even to this day, I constantly add to what I call the Lania file. So it has just about, if she says something and I realize, okay, that's really important, or I need to really, really remember that, I put it in the Lania file. And then from time to time, I'll go back and look at it, and I'll look at it and I'll see something that I'm like, let me, you know, I can take it, you know, I can cash in on that, if you will. So then I'll read something in there like, okay, she likes this. Well, if I'm out and I so happen to see that, I get it, and then I come home, I show it to her, and she's like, "Oh my God, you remembered!" And all the time, I just went back to the Lania file because I some days my memory ain't what it's supposed to be. So
And that's
just
fine.
have to
That's
go through and
fine.
understand. But the thing that she admires about that though is that I took the time to write it down,
And I do. I
and
do.
she loves the fact that because then she feels that she is heard, she's validated, and I thought enough of her to do something for her that she truly loves. Because I've learned a whole lot about love languages since we've
Yes.
been together.
Yes. Yes. And definitely. And when I saw that file, I mean, it shocked me and it tickled me because, like Brian said, I had never had anybody care enough to write something down, um, just for me. That feels good. Because it's a little bit easier with Brian. Like I know those things that he likes, so it's a little bit easier. Would you agree?
Oh, I'm as simple as they can be. I'm very very simple. I'm easy to please. I'm just real simple. But
Yeah.
Lania, on the other hand, that file goes for pages and pages on my phone.
Don't make
It's
me
a lot of
sound
stuff
so
there.
so bad.
But it's all good though. It's all good. All good.
Yeah, it
All
is
good
all
things.
good. Like the title of our podcast, it's all
It's
good.
all good. It's all
you
good.
know, but I do like that because, like Brian would tell you, people who are very close to me, is that for some things I get really deep. I've just been like that most of my life, even as a kid. So I really pay attention to close detail. I have a family member that always tells me that they love when I tell a story because they know I'm going to take my time and I'm going to be so detailed that they can get a picture in their mind exactly what I'm talking about, what day it was. I can remember dates and times sometimes to the T. And so, that's just how I roll. And to meet somebody who can understand that about me and understand that, some things for me is can be very deep, what I deem deep, and to pay attention to that. To me, that's intimacy because Brian is seeing me, I see him, and it just works for us.
And that takes us to where we get to see the core of that person.
Hmm.
And not only the core of that person, but then we have to navigate, where we are as individuals, but more importantly, where we are as a couple.
Yeah.
When you people see us, there's a certain image that we want to portray. So for us, that goes back to, we've talked about this in several episodes, the three-strand cord,
Yeah.
building the Campbells together as one. So when we got married, we tied the knot with the three-strand cord for, for God, for us, for me, for her, and we combined that together to never
Yes.
be broken. And that's the building of the Campbells. Again, what makes it all good.
It does make it all good. I mean, as you guys know, we are a Christian couple, and God leads us daily. We start our day with God, we end our day with God, and so that is that part of our 1 + 1 = 2. Because we can't function without the Lord guiding us and all these things that we just have talked about, because we know that we are each other's gift from Him. And so, next, I think we want to hit on, even with our 1 + 1 = 2, is how life has shifted for us. Such great things, some things that just happen so quickly, but it was just, things that have to happen. And for example, we are now empty nesters. We have all of our children who are grown, and so navigating life where we're not mothering and fathering and parenting in the way that it is when you have children who are under the age of 18. And so I know for me, I know I can speak more on this, that is very different because we are deemed middle aged now, empty nesters, and not having to do all those things. And so life has just shifted, and then life has shifted in other ways, work wise and with retirements and things like that coming up, where we're just, figuring out what's the next step in our lives. And I know we've talked about that because I know Brian is more of the planner. I'm more of, God, whatever the plan is, I'm trusting you, I'm praying. I know you're going to guide our steps.
And we have a lot of fun talking about middle age stuff. So
Yes.
excuse me. So we ride around a lot, and we
Yes.
see these little communities where they're 55 and plus, right? And so I'm 53 again, so I'm 53, right? So we ride
He's
around
gonna
and
get us
she'll
in there,
she'll
y'all.
she'll see it, and then they'll be like, "Oh, babe, there go one right there." I mean, like, man, I'm only 53. A couple more years, I'll have
I
you up in
mean, we
there.
can
We'll be in there.
apply.
Just a couple more years. Give me some time. I'll get us up in there. And so we laugh about that, like
Yes.
every time we're out and about, of how
Yes, yes.
things have changed. So one of the true things about us is, we know who we are as individuals. We
Hmm.
can function independent of each other. But the good thing about that, even though there have only been maybe once or twice that we really kind of been apart, um, that you don't see one without the other, but you always know where the other person is.
Yes.
We always know who they are with. And
And it's just
then
out of respect,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
total respect. It's not like
controlling or nothing like
controlling
that.
or anything like that. It's just total respect. She knows where I'm at. I know where she is, and it's just we know who we are as individuals, and then again, we also know who we are when we come together as a
Yeah.
couple.
Definitely. I think it's because, like you said, we respect one another, so we respect each other's space, and when we need that space to kind of retract, just to be amongst ourselves, to really know who we are as Brian individually, Linnea individually, and then we know when we come together because we genuinely like to spend our time together as a couple, and then we like to spend our time together individually with our friends or family, or as a couple with our friends and family. So we are very flexible in all of those areas because we genuinely love to be amongst ourselves, and we genuinely love to be amongst other people. And so I think it just, well, I don't even think, I know it works for us because I think we just, and that's my favorite word, intentional about balancing. I think because we've lived this life, and now that we are considered middle aged, I think we know some things, and that's the good part about life because life is supposed to grow you. I would tell anybody to take a step back and look at your life, and if you're not growing, I would just suggest, look at those things that maybe you need to work on, to change, to figure out, so that you are growing. Because I know that's something that we do just to make sure that, we're held accountable, that we are practicing healthy boundaries, that we're balancing life, and we're, prepared as possible when challenges come so that we can tackle those as well. And so it's always good to know who you are, and it's also to know who you are as a couple.
So it was interesting. She talked about growing. So, I'm sure some of you've heard the term. I know we use it a lot in the military, and that is basically you grow where you're planted. And
Hmm.
no matter, we get awards and things in the military. And I used to tell people, you can give me orders to the gym passing out basketballs, and somehow I'll get an award out of that. Just by, I don't know how, but there'll be a way that I will be able to get an award out of that because of things of how I'm going to impact that situation of
Yeah.
simply just passing out basketballs at the gym. So you also have to grow where you're planted because if you're not growing, then you're stagnant. You're staying where you are, and you have to
Hmm.
grow.
You have to
Things
grow.
change. Look at nature right now where we are, and things are going to change. So you have to be prepared to grow each and every day.
Yes, yes. And so that, it makes me think about, what we have been learning most of this year and last year. And I think for a while now, but specifically, we hear this all the time, especially when our pastor is preaching about being uncomfortable. Because that uncomfortability is where we will be stretched, grown, and have to surrender. I've gotten to the point where I do pray in my prayers, Lord, make me uncomfortable. And I know that might just sound so strange to anybody, but I have learned that, when those things come in life that are uncomfortable, even when we're trying to maneuver through different things in our marriage, I would prefer that than just being comfortable, because I feel like when Brian and I are in uncomfortable situations, that we hold each other's hand and we battle it together, like, and that's the beautiful thing about marriage, because you have a built-in partner, a built-in teammate, a built-in person that is going to say, I'm not going to let you do this alone.
And talking about being uncomfortable, there was a thing that came to my mind. So many years ago, I used to work at McDonald's, and I was a manager at McDonald's. And one of the things that one of the big supervisors in the company used to say was, when you have that employee that's not doing what you need them to do, you have to meet to motivate, not to terminate. And if you think about that, you're going to have that tough conversation and get all the cards out on the table, have that tough conversation. But the goal is not to get rid of that employee.
Yeah.
The goal is to, let me tell you where I am, let me understand where you are, and then how do we go in the direction that we both walk away as if we won the fight.
Oh,
So,
good.
just meet to motivate, not to terminate. And so I use that to this day. I mean, people don't even realize it. I've been in some unique situations in the military and been in some interesting rooms where some conversations were had, but always in the back of my mind, I could hear that meet to motivate, not to terminate. And they don't even realize that I'm using that tactic just to kind of, move us along and get us in the right direction.
Yeah.
So it has definitely been a benefit to know that I have someone that I can definitely do that with.
Yeah, that sounds so good because you know what I was hearing as you were saying that. Gosh, that was so good. I'm so glad that I've heard you say that because I've never heard you say that before. So that's something I'm gonna keep in my mental Rolodex, because we know the culture now is cancel culture. Everybody is ready to get rid of somebody so quickly. And so when you saying that, that lets me and reiterates to me that you know we're in it for the long haul. Like, we're not just saying, well, if you mess up that one time or you do this and this, I'm out. Because we are in a cancel culture. Like, we see it all around us, how people get rid of people, things, places, everything quickly. But that is not what marriage is about. Marriage is a give and take. Marriage is when you have to say, I'm sorry. Marriage is when one person's down, one is up. The other person's down, the other is up. Marriage is so many different things, but it's beautiful when you are married and with the right person.
Absolutely. So, like Lanier was talking about how, when one person falls behind, the other one has to pick them up.
Hmm.
That's where that teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep, and we have
And
said that.
when we come into this relationship, it was all about, okay, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, and so we have to know that, you know if one of us, we don't, every day is not a great day. All right, let's keep it real. Every day is not rainbows and unicorns. It's about life be life, and right.
Yeah.
So when things come at you, and then, like if she's having a day where she's not at 100, or I'm having a day where I'm not at 100, then we realize that in each other, and it's all about the other person picking up and being like, okay, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Let's figure this out together. And Lanier has said something to me many, many times. Hey, babe, don't forget you have a partner. And that has been one of the things that has just stuck with me, since we've been married, before we got
Yeah.
married, but definitely since we've been married. It's like, hey, babe, don't forget you have a partner. And, we can come together and we can talk about anything. So that's, I know that if I fall down, I know, God is going to be there for one, absolutely. But Lanier is going to be standing beside him ready as
Amen.
well. So I know
Amen.
that for 100%.
That's so good, and that's the beauty, like we said earlier, is knowing that you have a partner who's not judging you, who's not trying to just automatically fix it, but just is there, to know. And I think that's what many of us, if not all of us, desire, is to know that we have somebody that's there who's not going to flake out on us, who is just sometimes not even going to say anything, but we know their presence is there, that they are truly in that space with us. And so that is just such it's a great feeling when you can see it. You're thankful for that. You're grateful, and I know that I am. So I thank you, babe, for being my partner.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I do, especially lately. I've been doing a lot of travel, for my job in the military, and one of the things I do when I get on a plane, I am relaxed as relaxed can be, because I know my wife has prayed for me, and
Amen.
that's I know that before I even get to the airport. So I am as relaxed can be, because I know 1 plus 1 equals 2, and I know that she's intentional in her actions when it comes to me, and I know that she sees me as a person, and I
And I
know
do.
that, we have each other's back, and so I that's definitely been something that has been encouraging to me.
Yeah, yeah. So it just makes me think that, we wanted to get this point across, is that we know that we love each other. There's no denying that Linnea loves Brian. Brian loves Linnea. But the thing that really sticks out the most is that we really like each other and we really respect one another. Um, I there's never been any disrespect
No,
between
not
us.
one time.
You
Not
know,
once.
just the way that we talk to one another. I think, and I know we mentioned this before, we keep an even tone voice. We don't yell and scream at one another to make a point. We are never disrespectful to one another. If somebody is feeling some type of way, we just stop and say, hey, babe, this hurt my feelings, or this is what we need to talk about, or can we talk about this? So we are just very respectful of how we talk to one another. And then when we are in those conversations that could feel just a little bit heavier, that we're going to talk to each other in a certain tone. So we're just going to leave you with this, guys. When one falls behind, pick them up, because 1 + 1 = 2.
Two. Exactly. So, hey, we hope you enjoyed episode 9, 1 + 1 = 2. And make sure you share it with a friend. Call someone you love. Have them to check this out. Have them to follow us. Have them to like us. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
Yes. Remember, it's the Campbells. It's
It's
all
all
good.
good.